Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Walk and Talk, the dog training podcast that enables me to bring you all my juicy professional tips, tricks, and hacks when it comes to living your very best life with your dog by coming along with you whilst you and your dog head out on your daily adventures. I am really starting to enjoy recording these episodes now because whilst I love creating video content for TikTok and Instagram and all that jazz, and the feedback on those platforms has always been amazing, I just really am falling in love with the idea that when I do this podcast, I am in no way contributing to the amount of time you spend having to stare at a tiny screen or get sucked into the time-eating vortex that is an unintended social media doom scroll, because you can just listen while you're walking your dog. Or if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to listen to a podcast while you're out walking your dog, you can just listen while you're making dinner or cleaning the bathroom or something like that. Like, there's no wasted time whatsoever. And efficiency is like my love language these days with 2 kids and 2 dogs and a business. So long live the podcast. And also, the feedback and messages and comments I've received so far about this podcast have been absolutely amazing. And I am so genuinely grateful for everyone who has taken the time to send me a little DM, or a few people have actually sent me pictures of their dogs on their walks, and I am 100% here for it. It fills me with such joy knowing that there are people finding this content useful and helpful. So thank you guys very much. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Well, this week I want to explore in more detail a topic I did post a reel about last week because I received a few questions on it. People wanted to know more about how they could integrate this little training gem into their everyday dog training. And it occurred to me that there were some really useful things your everyday dog owner doesn't know about this topic, that if they did and they just integrated that knowledge into their most basic training issues, like I'm talking recall or loose lead walking as a couple of really common examples, right? They would almost instantly see an uplift in their results and the speed of their progress and the success rate of each training session. So what am I talking about? Well, in this episode, I want to do a little deep dive into the role of dopamine when it comes to the way your dog experiences the world, the way they experience your attempts to teach them stuff, and some really simple, actionable hacks that you can take away and apply to your everyday life with your dog off the back of this knowledge to instantly up your game and up your dog's game. So let's start right at the beginning. What is dopamine and why do I keep banging on about it? Well, dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which is basically a chemical messenger in the brain, and it's often referred to as the feel-good chemical or the feel-good hormone, but that's actually a little bit misleading. It's not just about making your dog or you feel good. It's not the reward itself. It's actually far more involved in the anticipation of a reward. In fact, some studies have shown that dopamine spikes most before the reward is even received, when the brain predicts that something good is coming. It's like nature's way of saying, yes, keep going, you're on the right track. Even though you haven't got there yet, just enjoy the journey, please keep going. So why should we care about that in dog training? Well, if you want your dog to find you more reinforcing than the squirrel, the discarded sandwich on the pavement, the postman, or even the wind, if you've got one of those dogs, and if you do, you know you do, and I'm sending you love and hugs, then you need to understand what drives their brain toward something. And spoiler alert, it's not just about the reward at the end. It's about how that reward is presented, how it's timed, and how it's predicted. So ultimately, when you train your dog, you're not just handing out treats, you're building neural pathways, and dopamine is the brain's way of laying down the tarmac and lighting those pathways up with fairy lights, right? Now, let me give you a relatable human example. Okay, imagine someone says to you, hey, I've got a surprise for you. Instantly, your brain lights up. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about. You start imagining what it could be. You feel excited. There's like this little bubble of anticipatory joy in your stomach, even though you haven't received anything yet. Absolutely nothing in your world or your experience of it has materially changed yet. That feeling, that is dopamine at work. It's the anticipation that gets you going. If on the flip side, someone just comes up to you and says, "Oh, hi, here's a fiver," with no build up, no context, nothing, you'd just be like, "Oh, thanks, I guess." But that excitement, that brain tingling moment before, that is where the magic lives. Okay, story time interlude for just a second to make this relatable. We hosted Christmas at our house last year. It wasn't a massive do, but I think there was 10 of us in total. And in the evening, we were playing some board games, and we played a game which I think was herd mentality, but it might have been something else. Anyway, one of the questions we all had to answer. I'm pretty sure it was herd mentality. Um, anyway, this question was about which is more exciting, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And I think initially it was only my sister-in-law and myself. I think my sister-in-law said the same as me. We both picked Christmas Eve, and everyone else plumped for Christmas Day. And I was just like, as lovely as Christmas Day is, don't get me wrong, I definitely prefer the build up to Christmas Day to the actual day itself. I prefer the excitement of, not knowing what your gifts are and wondering what fun you'll have, or what games will we all end up playing, or imagining the looks on the kids' faces in the morning. And actually, when we broke it down, everyone kind of agreed and just said, yeah, but to be fair, we are sitting in your house on Christmas Day, so it would have felt a bit rude and insulting if we all said we actually enjoyed yesterday more than today. So fair enough. But then another example is when we brought Albie home as a puppy. As much as I loved the day we brought him home, I truly relished all the weeks beforehand, researching breeders, finding potential litters. And then once we had met and chosen him, I loved the weeks of planning and prepping for his arrival and the weekly updates we got from his breeder. There was so much joy to be had in the anticipation and expectation of him before he ever joined our family. And I know that even though I joke with my husband all the time that if he buys me a present, he should buy me a puppy because they're my favourite thing in the world. The truth is, if he actually did surprise me with a puppy, just brought one home one day, I would feel so gutted about all the joy I'd missed out on, the joy of the anticipation and the looking forward to that moment. I mean, the man knows never, ever, ever to surprise me with a puppy. And actually, a puppy is a really bad example because, in my opinion, the amount of prepping and planning, practical and mental, that is required for a puppy should absolutely never be overlooked. Puppies do not just slot into your existing life. They require flexibility. You got to take some time off. You got to puppy proof your home. You got to adjust your schedule. You got to do a bit of research and learn how to raise them and all that jazz. Like, imagine if one day you were just living your best life and the next day you just gave birth to your first baby with no knowledge, no chance to plan or prep for that. Absolute carnage. Same goes for puppies. Anyway, the point remains, the joy lies in the anticipation as much, if not more, than it does in the delivery of the reward itself. And it's the same for your dog. So how do we use this to our advantage as dog owners? Okay, let me give you some practical, actionable tweaks you can start using straight away to activate that juicy dopamine system in your dog training. Number one, add unpredictability to your rewards. This one is counterintuitive for some people because we're often taught to be super consistent. But guess what? The brain loves a bit of mystery. Think slot machines at casinos or fairgrounds. The fact that you don't know when you might get a payout or even what that payout might be, if or when it comes, that's why they're so addictive. So in your training, don't always reward in the exact same way. Absolutely mix it up wherever you possibly can. Sometimes give a treat, sometimes give a handful of treats, sometimes throw a squeaky toy, sometimes release them for a sprint or a play or a sniff. Sometimes use a special jackpot reward. And what that is will depend on your dog and what you know they personally value highly. And especially for your very best work or the behaviors you really want to supercharge, just go big, go joyful, go absolutely wild. The moment your dog starts thinking, oh my God, what is she going to do next? That's the moment you're looking for. That's when you've won. Number 2, use pre-reward markers and create anticipation with them. Now, this one I personally love. Please don't overlook it. It works an absolute treat with Albie. So instead of just handing over the treat, try saying a little phrase or making a noise before delivering it. You can use a high pitched yes or a little ready or wait for it before a fun release. Just do whatever works for you or experiment a little bit. So for Albie, I can get him super excited about a piece of kibble with just a little, you ready? He knows exactly what it means when I say that phrase like that. And he knows it means I'm going to bowl it along the ground for him to chase as well. So I say that phrase in context and he'll instantly give me all his focus and he'll hit this little excited play bow ready to chase the treat. Even though I haven't even got the treat out yet, he's anticipating it. And that is part of the joy. And what you're doing here is stretching out that moment of anticipation and letting dopamine work its magic. It also makes you a more engaging person to work with. You become dynamic, you become interesting. You're not just this bland vending machine that your dog can take or leave. You're a living, breathing, unpredictable, exciting game show host. And just watch the way your dog's engagement with you changes when you embody that. Number 3, reward the way your dog likes to be rewarded. Now, this sounds obvious, but I cannot tell you how often I see people offering rewards that their dog finds really basic. If your dog doesn't care for kibble in the park, that is not reinforcement. That's disappointment in a packet. Now, an example of this is when I take Albie to the park, I usually have a couple of toys that he utterly loves, and I'll usually take one to play with or use as a reward while we're there. Now, in normal life, he will genuinely do anything for a piece of kibble. All of his trick training and freestyle stuff at home is just done with kibble. All of his obedience training is just kibble. He's totally motivated by it. But if I'm in the park playing with a toy with him and I ask him to drop that toy and he drops it, if I then throw him a bit of kibble as a reward for dropping the toy, 9 times out of 10, he won't eat the kibble. He couldn't care for it one bit. But if instead I just wait a beat and then I re-release him to that toy, he will be absolutely overjoyed. Now, to someone watching me do that, they're like, well, you just asked him to drop the toy. You didn't give him anything, and then you let him pick the toy back up again. Yes, but that is more rewarding to him than me handing over a piece of kibble. And trust me, I've tried both. I've done the experimentation. I know which he prefers. In that context, me asking him to drop his toy and giving him kibble in return is disappointing and is not rewarding. So pay attention to what your dog enjoys and maybe doesn't enjoy, but pay attention to the context as well. Like I said, Albie does love kibble. He'll happily do anything and everything for it at home, and even out on walks if there is no toy, he'll work for it enthusiastically. But context is everything. So start figuring out what your dog actually loves? Is it cheese? Is it playing tug? Is it running back to the car at top speed? Is it just a sniff break? Is it belly rubs or chase or high pitched squeaky praise? And when do these things hold more or less value than others? What's the hierarchy? This is where your observations and relationship building really come into play. And again, dopamine spikes not just when they get the thing, but when they predict the thing they really want is coming. So make sure you're actually using things they care about. Number 4, train always with energy and joy. I cannot stress this enough. Your energy matters. If you're just this flat, robotic, half hearted, or semi distracted person, your dog picks up on it. The more you infuse your sessions with energy, engagement, playfulness, the more your dog associates you with good things, with dopamine things, with exciting, rewarding, brain tingling moments. And this is not about being fake or overly performative. It's just about being present, being genuinely interested, and matching your dog's vibe in a way that makes you magnetic. Number 5, work with routines, but then break them. Now, routine is really powerful in training, and you'll see lots of trainers wax lyrical about it, myself included to some extent, but it's also a double edged sword. If your dog always knows exactly what's coming next, then they're able to start zoning out. So while it is good to have structure, occasionally I want you to break the pattern. Maybe your recall doesn't lead to being clipped on the lead every single time. Maybe loose lead walking ends in a surprise game. Maybe a heel pattern ends in a massive sniff safari. This keeps the brain guessing, and where there is guessing, there is dopamine. Number 6, use movement as a reinforcer. Now, let's not forget that dogs are movers. They are literally wired to run, chase, sniff, explore. So, just movement itself can be a really powerful reward. Instead of always reaching for food, you can just use a cue like go sniff or free or go play as a way of reinforcing behavior. And when a dog starts to predict movement as a reward, that lights up an entirely different layer of brain chemistry. And as an added bonus, you're using what your dog already naturally wants to do, and you're harnessing the value of that for yourself. So you're embracing the environment out there and adding it to your toolkit rather than constantly having to compete with it. Personally, I love to use off you go at the park or in the woods or wherever we are when the dogs are off lead and it's safe to do so. And it literally just means sod off and explore. You're free. I don't want focus. I don't want heel work. I want you to go and sniff and just be dogs. And by having that cue, I've now just put the whole environment in my back pocket as another reward that I can use to reinforce stuff that I like. Finally, number 7, and this is an important one, so please take it to heart. Play the long game. So I need you to remember this isn't about quick fixes. You are literally reshaping the way your dog's brain responds to you versus the environment. You are becoming a source of novelty and delight and anticipation. It doesn't just happen in one session, but over time, the more your dog learns that engaging with you leads to exciting, surprising, and satisfying outcomes, the more reinforcing you become. More than the squirrel, more than the KFC someone's dropped next to the bin, more than the cyclist zooming past, more than all that stuff. So I want you to ask yourself, how can you become the most interesting, unpredictable, joyful, safe, and satisfying part of your dog's world? How can you tweak the way you reward, the way you play, the way you train, and even just exist with your dog so that they light up when they look at you? That's the dopamine trick. It's not manipulation, it's not bribery, it's literally brain science, and it's beautiful when it clicks into place. And if you're now sitting there or walking along thinking, oh God, I've actually been a bit of a boring trainer lately, please don't beat yourself up. This isn't about being perfect. This is about just being curious. Just pick one tweak to try this week, just one. Maybe you just play a bit more before training. Maybe you throw in one surprise jackpot. Maybe you experiment with anticipation or change your reward delivery style. Small shifts over time create massive ripples in the brain and in your bond with your dog. And ultimately, that's what we're all here for, right? All right, my fellow dog obsessed besties, that's it for today's walk and talk. Thank you so much for letting me come along on your walk or your cleaning spree or your solo coffee run. If you found this episode helpful, please do let me know. I love hearing from you. Also, if you've got any questions about today's topic or you want to share a win or an amazing aha moment, please come and find me on Instagram or TikTok. I'm always lurking over there, aren't I? It's at Listen Dog Training on both platforms. And if you really want to make my day, you could leave a review for this podcast. It takes a matter of seconds. You don't have to log in. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to type your name and your blood type. None of that jazz. You can literally just click stars and run. Or you can share this episode with a dog owning friend who might need to hear it. I know all podcasters say this, but it's because it is genuinely 100% true. It really, genuinely means the world to me when I see a new 5-star review pop up, and it helps me keep this whole thing going. So anyway, that's enough jabbering on. Until next time, go be the dopamine. You've fully got this, and I will see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.